You go first.
Okay. All right. Well, my mouth isn't frozen. It certainly was this morning. Hi, everybody. Meteorologist Joe Rao, FiOS 1 News, Lower Hudson Valley.
Joe Cioffi, FiOS 1 News, Long Island, and FiOS 1 News, New Jersey. What was the lowest in the Hudson Valley this morning?
16 below zero at Middletown, and 12 below zero in New Paltz. But of course, subtract 10 or 15 off of that because that'll probably account for the wind chills, which were approaching probably 30 below up north. So
11 below in Sussex.
Wow.
In northern New Jersey, and actually the areas to the south, south and east of there, and toward the warmer urban centers, wound up getting a couple of degrees colder than what was modeled. Islip got down to 4.
Mm-hmm. That's a new record.
That's a new record for Islip, and Kennedy set a new record today. They had a record low also, and they broke the old record set back in 1077. Well, that's how it came out in the statement.
Oh.
So in other words, if we were, one of those really humongous media outlets, it would read that this is the coldest air since William the Conqueror roamed the earth, or as they called him, Billy.
The Bayou Tapestry days. Right?
Yes, exactly.
Oh.
So anyhow,
I presume that was 1977.
No, I think it was 1967.
Oh, okay.
So anyhow,
and that led into a blizzard a few days later. That cold air in 1967.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Well, you got a memory like steel. What'd you have for breakfast this morning? Good. You remember the important things.
Brown sugar oatmeal, actually.
All right.
So there you go.
That works for me.
You know what I was doing this morning after I ate the brown sugar oatmeal? I went outside.
You didn't chip out the ice at the deck, did you?
No. I kept the deck clean.
You got Mrs. Rayo to do that.
No, don't do that. Actually, she did a good. She did some work yesterday, but there was a half an inch of new snow with the squall. Now, fortunately, that snow was puffy and powdery, so it was easy to get rid of. But there was a lot to get rid of, over time. Yeah. I did that with the temperature like 5 or 6 degrees above zero this morning. Good exercise, though. Yeah. Good. And may I also say, this new thing that came out this morning about frost quakes in Chicago?
Yes, I did see that, yes.
And people were sending me messages on Facebook saying they were hearing in my neighborhood, loud thumps and explosions or whatever. And you know what that was? And I hear that all the time when it gets very cold. My wooden deck.
Well, you reminded me because I hear those at night, and sometimes I think it's just water in the hot water, the baseboards.
Right, but apparently it's
it's my deck. It's the expansion. Yeah, right. It makes these popping noises. It's a little weird.
And because I didn't bother to clear, or my wife didn't bother to clear the ice and snow from the previous couple of days.
Well, she didn't get a chance. She was far too busy.
Oh, please.
Bother is a strong word.
You're never going to get. You keep this up, you're never going to get any brownies or cupcakes.
They were delicious. Thank you, by the way, Mrs. Rayo. Those were amazing.
The thing that I want to point out is that since we didn't do that, there was a lot of that moisture that was expanding on our deck. And last night, apparently, I was not here. I was here with you, actually.
Yes.
But I came home, and she said the loudest thump that she's ever heard from the deck, from the expansion of the moisture, she said it literally shook the house. So if you've been hearing pops and thumps and explosions or whatever in your neighborhood, it's probably not frost quakes. It's probably somebody's wooden deck that's expanding due to the frozen water that's embedded in the cracks or whatever.
Well, the good news is that the core of the cold air is in the process of moving out, and we're going to begin what I guess is a stair-step climb in temperatures over the next several days.
Right.
Some of that is going to be slowed down a little bit by cloud cover tomorrow because we do have a bit of a disturbance that's going to be passing by to the south. And I think it might bring a little bit of snow to South Jersey, south of 195, and in Pennsylvania, say, south of Route 76. But I don't think it's going to get, much further north than that, and we'll wind up with just some clouds. But I did want to show you this, Joe. I don't know if I've been watching this since yesterday in upstate New York. Look at this. Look it up in Lake Ontario. I'll make sure I got everybody can see it in the shot there. But look over by Lake Ontario. There's been this plume of moisture that runs right across the entire length of the lake and has been going into north central New York, up I-81 north of Syracuse.
Right.
So we're talking up near Pulaski, Mexico, New York, on up to Watertown.
Right.
And
Barnes Corners.
Right. Watertown actually getting hit pretty hard today.
Yeah.
They had 15 inches on the ground as of 1 o'clock, and they were kind of on the fringe of it for a little while, but they've been in the heart of it. And the last I checked, which was 2 hours ago, they had 6 hours straight of near zero visibility and heavy snow. So they must have at least 2 feet on the ground.
Yeah.
And there's other areas that have probably up to 3 feet. Look at that on the radar. This has literally been 36 hours straight. And I've said half kidding and half serious that one day my plan is to go up there with a lawn chair and just put it down, and maybe along Route 13, and just kind of face the lake and just watch those squalls coming in, and hopefully there was somebody there to bury me out.
We got a very, very small idea of what this is all about yesterday. For about 10 or 15 minutes, people were seeing, half and quarter mile visibilities. Well, just imagine, and gusty, strong winds as well. Now, just imagine having that, not just for 10 or 15 minutes, but as Joe just mentioned, something like 6 or 8 straight hours. I mean, that's basically what you get when you live up in the vicinity of. Is it what they call the Tug Hill Plateau, or is that another?
Yeah, it's near Tug Hill's near there. Yeah,
right.
That's just to watch it on the lake.
Yeah,
just this sort of straight line just coming right across like that and not moving. I mean, this is an hour loop. But I could have pulled this up early this morning. It looked almost exactly the same as it did last night.
Amazing.
So it's just, it is it's hard here when all the hysteria for that's created over a coating to a couple of inches.
Well, the people were telling me that their cell phones were going off, snow squall warnings or whatever, like at 4 o'clock as they. And it was like, here it comes, it comes, and there it went.
Right, exactly. It was so fast. And by the way, this is the Weather Service snow forecast for up in that area, and this is in addition to what has already fallen. So some places are going to get up to another foot or more, and it's going to go on. What's the timestamp? The closing timestamp on this is tomorrow. This is between now and 7 a.m.
Right.
Okay. So this is snowfall for the overnight on top of what already is on the ground.
Notice, if you will, that they don't have a specific number over the darkest shade.
Well, yeah, that red is that's 18 to 24.
Right.
It's so small.
Yeah.
But still, if you're in there, it's a snow lover's dream, I guess.
And I remember.
And even the HRRR is picking up on it, and you can see it kind of starts to shrink out and disappear.
Not anymore, but in Weatherwise magazine, I think about 20 or 30 years ago, there were people who actually used to take out ads in Weatherwise. Do you like snow? Do you want to see a lot of snow? And they would try to rent their homes for this particular time of the year, of the season, up in that area of New York State.
Yeah,
and
I've been up there to fish, and it's nice, but I don't know if I'm that
crazy. Yeah.
Tough enough to, yeah.
And
I'd like to be nearby, but I don't know if I'd like, I'd probably have my fill of it.
We'd have an escape route or something.
Yes. All right, so here's the system for tomorrow that's going to go to the south, and you can see it kind of gets almost the northern fringe of that snow. Who knows how much of that is actually reaching the ground. Gets to almost a Sandy Hook tomorrow afternoon around 1 o'clock, and then it just moves away to the east, and it goes goodbye.
Right.
And the NAM actually tonight, Joe, I noticed the NAM looks almost identical to the HRRR. Usually there's at least some differences, but they both kind of look the same. Same idea. Gets to about Sandy Hook, just north of Route 195, and then goodbye.
Goodbye.
And there's no support with this. This is not like we're dealing with, a solid piece of in the upper air that would suggest that, well, maybe there could be an upside surprise or something like that. When you look at the upper air, I'll bring up the NAM's upper air. I mean, you can't even find it. It's so. Let me just run back. There's the big upper lows pulling out. It's really more of the fact that you've got this warm air aloft that's moving eastward, and not so much that there's any kind of real strong shortwave. There might be a little one in there, but that's it. It's more about the warm air coming, and then that vortex pulls out, and we get a nice bit of ridging here going into Sunday and Monday.
Right.
And big temperature changes.
Yeah, it sounds like, well, again, you said climbing the ladder, so to speak. 20s tomorrow, and I've mentioned this with our news anchor on the lower Hudson Valley end of things, Mike Gilliam. I said, you know that it has been frigid. When you say not so frigid or not as frigid, and the temperature struggles just to make it above 20 degrees, and people will welcome that tomorrow. People may actually say, hey, this isn't so bad, you know? But that's only the beginning. Because
once the wind disappears,
yeah,
the body, you get used to it.
20s tomorrow, 30s on Saturday.
Now, watch the changes, by the way, starting tomorrow in the areas in the Midwest, because they're going to get the warm air first. The first red line that you see going east to west, we see all the blue lines in Missouri and in Illinois. You go to that first red line, that's 35 degrees for a high. And Chicago actually goes into positive numbers tomorrow by afternoon. The 20-degree isotherm is going by. Then it just kind of sits there during the night. And then as we get into Saturday,
oh my goodness,
we're talking 35. The 35-degree line pushes all the way up into northern Michigan and in through central Wisconsin. So imagine being like 20, 25 below and then going to 35 above in a matter of 2 days.
People will be dancing in the street on Waveland Avenue. That's the avenue just outside of Wrigley Field in Chicago. You see those kind of temperatures. And we here, I mean, we're not too accustomed to such cold readings as we saw over the last 24 to 36 hours. By Super Bowl Sunday,
we're back at
degrees.
least. Well, we'll be close to it. Well, certainly by, this is Sunday morning, so that's the 30-degree line. So it really isn't all that cold. Temperatures Saturday night will probably not go much of anywhere. And then going forward, I can move it on the GFS to show during the day on Sunday. There's your 40-degree line getting to Chicago. And even into southeastern Minnesota, they go up above freezing. And we've got the 40-degree line nearby. And even by, now we're into Monday, we're talking about 50. This is probably a little too low. We'll probably be closer to 50. Look at the 60-degree isotherm pushing into southern Illinois
Isn't that
here.
amazing?
That's crazy.
I mean, I have a friend who some of you may very well be familiar with, because perhaps if you listen to WCBS News Radio, he is often on the air. Peter King, he does the national news on CBS Radio, and he said he has on his Facebook page a picture here. He was walking the beaches of South Florida in his overcoat, and he said, well, it's chilly down here. It's only in the mid-40s. And I told him, I said it was in the mid-40s here. I said people will be rejoicing. I mean, when you shovel snow at 5 degrees and you're complaining about 45 where you are, everything is relative. And
exactly,
it's amazing.
Now this warm-up, Joe, I'm starting to think that we're going to be, it's going to take us into Tuesday. And one of the things I've noticed is looking at especially at the European today and the parallel GFS. Not that we're going back into anything with regards to that brutal air, but it does try to kind of spread colder air out later next week. And I think one of the reasons, the primary reason, because we got them back now, the teleconnections
for the moment at least.
Yeah, but they are back after the shutdown.
Right.
And I looked at them yesterday, and I looked at them today, and the thing that really caught my eye is that. Well, two things. First off, the Pacific North America Index, the PNA, is negative, but it's off the wall negative. And anytime any of these indices go to these off the wall readings, I think that creates issues with models and how they handle things. The other thing is that is interesting, very interesting to me, is that East Pacific Oscillation Index goes negative and gets not off the wall negative, but it gets strongly negative as we get to about February 4th or 5th. And when the EPO is negative, that usually favors colder air in at least getting to the east. The only thing is with the PNA this negative, I'm wondering, and then when I looked at the surface here, the way it's all setting up, this might wind up evolving into a situation where if you looked at the upper air, you would say it's warm, but you look at the bottom part of the atmosphere, it would say it's cold. And the parallel GFS actually, and the European did something like this afternoon. a series of waves with these colder highs to the north and low-level cold air. I don't know. We're just kind of talking theoretical because we're talking about later next week. But this sort of paints a picture of where you wind up getting maybe ice issues.
Well, the weekend of January 19th, what about 10 or 11 days ago, we had a scenario where the upper level was rather warm, and meanwhile the lower level was certainly cold enough to produce ice and snow and sleet and whatnot, and eventually it changed over to rain. But,
right.
That came a little bit late in the ball game.
But I wonder if this time around, because of that strong negative East Pacific oscillation that's being indicated, that maybe this time the lower level cold air might get a bit further south.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we kind of need to watch the trends of the models over the coming days,
right,
to see if that cold high to the north spreads out like that, and you wind up, suppressing everything a bit further south. I don't think this is, as far as snow goes, I'm kind of shying away from that for now because of the fact that aloft, it's probably not going to be all that cold. If you bring up the 850, even though the bottom part of the atmosphere is cold, the 4,700 foot level, if you look at 850, the zero is up pretty far to the north.
Right.
So again, I think this would be a matter of looking at the low-level cold air, perhaps getting further south and kind of being held there because of the way the high's set up.
And if this be the case, this would not certainly be a snow situation. It might be a freezing rain situation, but it might actually be more like a cold rain and sleet
could be
situation.
Or it could wind up being that it's overdone, and that instead of being suppressed, you wind up with something a low that goes further north and west,
right,
and it isn't really a big issue.
That's still a week away.
Yeah. So it was just kind of something that we have to look at going forward. In the wintertime, I know the I-95 snow weenies are just kind of at their last gasp here at the moment. I would just sort of suggest, as I've suggested many times, what's in front of you is what's in front of you. So just kind of look at that, and I don't know, just learn to accept it and enjoy it, and let it take you down whatever road it takes you down.
We're only about halfway through the astronomical winter, and we're now about 28 days away from the end of meteorological winter.
Yeah, I know.
But then again,
we saw what happened last year. It's hard to imagine we're going to go into a repeat performance of last year with 4 nor'easters in 2 weeks.
It may be, but
who knows?
Sometimes the weather can turn on a dime. So far, I believe since the 6.5-inch snow in November, Central Park has had a grand total of 1.1 inches of snow.
Robert Hurley, why so much lake effect? Shouldn't the lake be frozen by now? Actually, we were looking at that this afternoon. The lake water temperature is about 41, and Ontario is not frozen, so it's still pretty wide open. But did you pull up that stat yesterday about? Well, somebody did, to either that or maybe it was Addison or Brittany.
Addison or Brittany or whatever. Maybe
it was the water temperature is about at 41, and there's probably ice on the edges, but in terms of being completely frozen over, no, not at all, not at all. Let's see.
It hasn't exactly been I know what we've been going through of late, but it has not been exactly a frigid winter so far. In fact, I would bet, Joe, that if you took averages to this point in time for the first half of the winter, the temperature for the winter so far here in the Northeast, and maybe for the Great Lakes too, is probably either normal or maybe even slightly above normal. This is kind of an anomalous pattern that we're into right now with the extreme cold weather. It's going to warm right up again, as we just pointed out, over the next several days.
I'm trying to see if we could pull up. Thank you. Who was it on there? I'm sorry. Let me just go back. Frank Charles Michael giving me a website. Maybe we can find a camera up. There's restaurants and cabins, cozy cabins. Just trying to find the link here for a. Here we go.
Well, wouldn't it be too dark to see anything right now? Or?
Well, let's just give it a shot.
Oh, here's Barnes Corners. There you go.
Okay, that's not working. Montague. I guess that's snow, but it's like a still shot. It's not even moving. Tug Hill.
Oh, dear me.
Updates every 5 minutes. Okay, that's not working.
Well, you
for
get
me.
you get pretty much the idea of what's going on up there from that picture.
Oh, we have live coverage. Oh no, that's a link.
Who's up there doing the live coverage? Roger Mudd?
I guess this must have been just like an instant shot of the
Or maybe
the
if
snow
it's not
coming
if it's
down.
not Roger Mudd doing the live coverage, maybe it's Kate Snow, who, by the way, I enjoy watching her newscast on Sunday night on NBC. Give her what? Kate Snow?
She might be watching right now here. How do you know she's not watching us now?
Well, if it is, I'm a fan. I enjoy the 6:30 newscast on Sunday with Kate Snow.
All right. Well, then you can do that. That's allowed. All right. Coming up on 9:45. Let's call it a day. By the way, some of you are possibly on here tonight because I sent you a notification on my weather app, which is now available for all mobile devices, be it iPhone or Android. So be sure to go to either Google Play for Android and search Meteorologist Joe Cioffi, or go to the App Store and search Meteorologist Joe Cioffi and download the free weather app, and you can watch live streams straight from there. Can't watch the Facebook live stream from there, but you certainly can watch the YouTube live streams, because I've been putting them up. And if you missed this show, I put the replay up later on, so you can eventually watch it.
Watch to your heart's content.
And the app is free. The link is also on the descriptor to this post. So if you just take a look at that, and after we're going to wrap it up, go ahead and download away. All right, so we'll be back tomorrow. Is Friday. It's the end of the week.
TGIF.
Yes. TGIF.
We're going to do something on Groundhog Day tomorrow, or just have some more comments about Groundhog Day?
There are a few recipes that I would like to share.
Yes.
So perhaps we'll do that. And in the meantime, normal stuff tomorrow, regular posts on meteorologistjoecioffi.com. And again, if you're on the app, you'll get them there too. It just comes nice and clean and fast. And by the way, if you haven't done it yet, check out the Zoom radar feature, okay, which is really good. You could plot on the menu on the side, you hit a button, Joe, and you can plot all the current temperatures for the geography you have. Yes, Benjamin.
But you're a little late.
Yeah, you're here. You're also, I know, I saw what you had for dinner, by the way, yesterday, and I he's really a good cook.
Okay.
Very good. He made me the best bacon cheeseburger I think
Really?
I've ever had.
Wow.
It was phenomenal. But he's right now on a bit of a diet, and I saw that chicken and broccoli. It was, and I looked at it, and knowing how well you cook, Ben, I was like, this is so wrong. It's just wrong.
Maybe Angry Ben should go on Cook's Country. You ever see that show?
We'll get him to Skype in one of these days.
All right.
He does my New York City website, nycweathernow.com, and
Very nice.
Fellow cigar smoker as well. So we're good to go. So we'll get him to Skype in one day.
Ben, I like he's already given me his opinion. I have a cigar, a Don Leo cigar.
No, tell him absolutely
Quiet.
not.
Quiet.
No.
I've never smoked in my life. I wouldn't know a good cigar from a bad cigar to begin with. But I have a 19. It's been in my drawer since the year 2000, and I said I would smoke it, even though I don't smoke. But I said I would smoke it if one of two things were to happen. If I got an Emmy, which I'm still waiting. I've been nominated 8 times, still waiting to get that statuette, or if the Mets win the World Series. Till then, it stays in the drawer.
You smoked that cigar after all those years sitting in the drawer. I tell you right now, when you light it, it will literally just go up in flames like an instant torch.
All right.
It's probably so bone dry.
It'll be so fun to watch that, wouldn't it?
Well, not if you're on the other end of it. And, well, anyway.
well.
Ben will probably agree with me.
Okay.
So, anyhow, Richard Mellicar, we were talking about this the other night, and I think he brings up a good point. I don't remember the last time. I mean, there have been like some minor, some icing events along the way. But in terms of a widespread icing event for the coast, I think you got to go back probably to the 90s sometime.
Well,
I don't remember.
I don't know about that, but I do remember as a very young boy, my grandfather, when we celebrated his 65th birthday, December 17th, 1973.
I remember that.
Yeah, all of you weather historians can go back. That one, it was a positively tilted trough. We got mainly ice. Washington got like a foot of snow out of that because it was cold enough.
Right, it was one of those upside down situations.
Right.
And in fact, I remember Christmas trees. Not the real trees. I'm sorry. Pines.
Right.
Literally caked with about an inch or more of ice on all the branches, ice on everything.
Right.
There were a few ice storms like that in the early 70s. There were a couple of them.
And didn't we have one just before the first of the 2 snowstorms in '78 on Long Island, I think?
On Long Island, yes, because it changed over to rain in most places, but the cold air got trapped on Long Island because there wasn't a breath of wind.
Right.
And as a result, that was a serious ice storm that occurred.
Right.
It's still talked about by the folks who lived through it. That ice storm back in 1978.
That doesn't happen very often. But I think if what we were just discussing for next week,
it's still theoretical at this point. We're just kind of just sort of looking at what the models are putting in front of us, and we'll see what happens. But that signature that I was looking at with the East Pacific Oscillation, which usually favors colder air in the east, might be trying to tell us something.
Right.
All right, we got to go. So we'll be back tomorrow, 9:25. I have a YouTube show at 7 o'clock tomorrow night, so be sure to tune in. And I'll be at the top of the hour, Fios 1 News Long Island and Fios 1 News New Jersey.
And I'll be at the top of the hour for all of you lucky viewers in the lower Hudson Valley.
All right, have a good night, everybody.
Bye.